Good morning, Professor. My name is Chris Lanning, and this is the dissection of the sheep brain and structures of the sheep brain for Biology 250. As you can see, I have my workspace here. It is all cleaned off. It is free of foreign materials. I do have the structures list right here to help me ensure that I hit all the items. There's no other things around to assist me. And I am working in a hotel room and have had to transport this brain from Las Vegas to Florida, so please bear with me. But let's get into what we're doing. So, we've got the sheep brain here. The cerebrum is in this area up here. And as you can see, I've exposed some of the meninges to get to the actual uri and sulcus. So in here, you'll see that these big raised bumps right there are the uri, and the channels that run between them that are darkened here that have blood vessels are the sulcus, or urus and sulcus. I've split the brain per the lab instructions down the longitudinal cerebral fissure, which runs this way, and it runs all the way down, which has allowed me to split it in half. Right here we have the brain stem, starting with the spinal cord that then goes into the medulla oblongata, and then into the pons, and eventually into the midbrain. We can actually see it a little better from in here. Coming in, medulla oblongata in this area, the pons, this little bump right here, and then the midbrain up in here. The cerebellum is in the back, and it's kind of covered in dura matter and meninges. But as you can see, it's kind of in rough shape, but you can see that there is some lateral lines that come across here and here and here, and it's been split along one. Then there's more right here and right in here. It's really in rough shape on this particular specimen, but it does give you the basis to see the grooves that are in it. Meninges. So I've split them down, but as you can see, it starts with the dura mater and then goes into the arachnoid, and then the pia mater is actually covers up here. It's really hard to get to, but you can definitely see it as I poke it with this. I can kind of lift it up, and that right there would be the pia mater that covers the urus and sulcus and all of that. And all of that helps form the blood-brain barrier, blood-brain system. Moving into the pituitary gland should be this little guy right here. And then we get into the cranial nerves. Cranial nerves on this specimen are really in rough shape. This was split before I got it, but as we can see here, we have the olfactory bulbs, which would then tie into the olfactory nerves, and the optic nerve should be right here, and this should cross over to decussate as the optic nerve does, which would make this the optic chiasm, optic nerve, and then the optic tract would run out this way back into the cerebellum. In here, inside of here, we're going to have the oculomotor nerves, which would be underneath that, along with the trochlear, trigeminal, which would be lower than trochlear, and the abducens, which would be underneath here. So it should be kind of able to see it right there. It's really tough, but there is some nerves under there that would run under, and as you can see, there's some more stuff that's been cut right there that kind of would line that out a little bit better for all of the nerve systems. Now going inside, you can go inside here. Now we've got the corpus callosum, which is this guy that will basically bridge the cerebellum together. The thalamus, which should be right here, and then the hypothalamus is down here, which forms the floor. and then we've already talked about the pituitary gland. So lateral ventricle is this little hollow looking spot here and back in here, which would allow for cerebrospinal fluid. The septum pellucidum, which should be this thing right here, which attaches this and this together. It's just behind the lateral ventricle. So this little area right in here. The choroid plexus is this stuff. It should be right in here. It's kind of hard to see there, but it should be right in this general area. The third ventricle is this area right in here, which would hold cerebrospinal fluid, and then which would flow down into the fourth ventricle, which is in between the pons and the cerebellum, down in this general area, maybe down all the way to here. So, going back to the midbrain, I'm looking for the cerebral penducle. I believe that is down in here with some of these things that come up, maybe just these guys right here that come up into this, and then there should be two sets of bulbs, which would be the superior colliculus and the inferior colliculus. There should be two bulbs, and then the superior up top and the inferior on the bottom. I'm having trouble finding those on this particular thing, but it should be in here somewhere. Maybe it's these guys. Kind of hard to see, but those should be right in there, along with the midbrain. And then, like I said before, it would break down into the pons, which should be in this area, and then down into the medulla oblongata, the pons, and then the midbrain in this area. So the last thing that we should be looking for would be the spinal cord, and I cut off a chunk of spinal cord, but you can't really see much. I'm going to take another chunk here to see if we can see a little bit more, to find the gray, white, and dorsal and ventricle stuff. It doesn't appear that we can really see anything in this given specimen, but what should be there would be the gray matter is actually on the inside of the spinal cord, the white matter being on the outside, and then there should be roots that come down that kind of look like a horn shape on both the ventricle and dorsal sides, and that would be the gray matter, which is then surrounded by the white matter, which is inverse to the actual brain, which has got white matter on the inside with the gray matter forming the outside. So hopefully this was educational. It definitely was for me, and that is it. Thank you.